Welcome, and thank you for joining me on today's discussion on the nobility or the beauty of forms. Forms are the things that we see around us that represent creation. They are the visible manifestations of the life here in this solar system, on this planet, in this cosmos, in the galaxy, however you want to think of it. It is forms that are the beautiful representations of creation. So forms and the creating of forms is a really important aspect of who we are, because we have the capacity to create forms. As we are a likeness, so we can create forms in a likeness of our own choosing. And that's a kind of a miraculous thing, that we get to choose the forms that we create around ourselves. And so how we do that is really the magic of what I want to talk about today. The ability to intentionally create a form. What does that form look like? Of course, the most elemental form is the growth and birth of a child. That's a cooperation. And cooperation, as I've spoken of a lot, is the essential part of creating a form. And the creation that we create is one that, if we are very fortunate, represents the beauty of the divine, the nobility of the divine. And I think that nobility of who we are and what we create is essential to our happiness and well-being as we are connected to our divine calling. So crafting an intention, cooperating with someone else, in your cooperation, crafting a form, finding something beautiful, whether it's a child or some aspect of farming or cultivation or essentially managing the garden that we live in. And there's lots of ways to understand that garden. I mean, we can think of it just as flora and fauna, but really it's so much more than that. It could very well be mathematics as part of the garden. So I want to stay with that because it's really a significant aspect of us developing expertise in our calling, to become experts in developing our calling and finding in our calling the nobility of creation. So that's a powerful thing, and I want to maybe allude to the fact of, well, what happens when you're not able to craft forms that represent the beauty of creation? Well, what happens is that we oftentimes drift off into personality. And personality is the thing that gets in the way of our crafting a form that finds in its creation nobility or the divine hierarchy. It loses its way. It becomes less able to manifest. So some good examples would be, say, modern art. So I went to art school and spent some time looking at the works of Jackson Pollock, among others, many others. And the thing about Jackson Pollock's work is it's completely formless. It's dribbles of paint of many different colors on a canvas. There is no form to it as such. It's chaos. It's a glorification of chaos. And so much of modern art seems to do that. It's a glorification not of the form, but of the chaos that existed before the form. And it's in a way, a repudiation of the divine. It's a repudiation of our nobility. And I think that so much of life is like that. When we have sexual relationships which are not noble. They are not noble. They are formless. So think about the reality then of a relationship you have with someone, or have had, or might have, that is really steeped only in your personality. The issue with that is it now becomes formless. There is no nobility to that liaison. So those kinds of relationships then deny the beauty of creation. They're saying the relationship that I'm talking about is saying we don't want to be creating. We want pleasure. And in that pleasure, there is a formlessness. No form will evolve from that. No form will be created. And so the reason that I making a point of this is that we should really pay attention to our intentions. What are we crafting as we set our attentions up for actions of cooperation? Are they really cooperation, or are they things where we are finding our own preferences, finding our own privileges, finding our own pleasures? So they're really not cooperative at all. We may say they're cooperative, but they are not. They are opportunities for us to then make our personalities more extravagant. So we are using the opportunity of forms to create a non-form, a formlessness. So it's a counterproductive event where our personality takes over and no form is created. And that means then chaos. And in that chaos is the opportunity for the personality that created that formless reality to then find itself in the arms of the beast, where there is another kind of shape, another kind of manifestation, another kind of entity, which is beginning to take over the energies of our personality. So we are losing our personality in formlessness and chaos to be subsumed and overtaken by other energies which do not honor the divine. They are not noble. They do not have in them beauty. They have allure and sensuality, and they are captivating and compelling, and they lure us in. But is that really what we want to do? No, it's not. It's not what I want to do. I mean, this is an I conversation. I'm using plurals and we's, but really it's about me. It's about what I want to create. What intention do I have? Can I find in my intentions the nobility and the beauty that reflects my connection with the divine in the divine hierarchy? It's my calling. So I would look around. I would ask you to look around to find examples of formlessness and examples of beauty. You can see it in a wonderfully tended garden. There is form there. There is productivity. There is life. There is a produce that comes. It comes from that cooperation that's so essential to well-being and so essential to finding our way and finding the joy of our own manifestation as we create and grow. So those things that grow, I mean, all of creation grows. I mean, you could make a case for rocks growing. And what I'm talking about is not something new. It's not philosophical. It's talking about, what I'm talking about is personality or soul. I like personality better. It's a little bit easier to kind of conceptualize. But the idea of formlessness is ancient. I mean, I was recently looking at a text that was over 2,000 years old from Alexandria in Egypt. And it spoke about formlessness and the nature of personality and how difficult it is to manage and understand personality. And that text, 2,000 years old, was from another text from the Assyrians even 2,000 years older than that. So this is not new stuff. It's not things that are being invented here and there by now. This is ancient conceptualization of who we are. It's trying to put into words and understandings and images the nature of who we are in an effort to create the forms that honor our own existence, that honor the divine and the divine hierarchy, to move us up to an ascension that's really important, both intellectually and physically. I think there are physically very pretty people, but the beauty of our creation is really found in our nobility, in our being true to the fact of our divine beginnings. So that's what I want to say today, is to pay attention to our divine beginnings and to stay true to those beginnings as we craft intentions that bring us closer to a form that is one that exemplifies our nobility and divinity. So thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. I hope you will meditate on this stuff and perhaps send me a note on your thoughts. Amen.